Hey everyone, this is your host Brian, and welcome to episode 15. Today's topic, you, the listener, go to hell. Find out about all that and more on this week's episode of the Pause Button Podcast.
What the fuck was that?
Alright,
We've gone from extremely long intros to super short intros.
I got a gripe to pick, alright? You know? With the listener,
Uh-oh.
you know?
No, he's going all in.
We put out those listening goals. We haven't reached one of them yet. It's been 2 weeks. What's going on, guys? What
You
we
can't
supposed to do
blame
for you?
them for us putting out bad content.
I totally can. You know, we're sitting here making gold. I'm out there on the streets passing out gold for free. It's a free pot, and they're like, no, we'd rather listen to some trash. You know, like the Mouth Breather podcast. I mean, come on, this is some bullshit.
Oof.
This is not the reaction I expected. I thought you'd go along with it, or like, but not just sit here quietly.
We love our listeners.
Yeah, we appreciate them.
Fuck you, Brian.
I guess the topic is me today. And all the
If we
gripes
don't
you gotta
have
pick
them,
with
what do
me.
we have? You? It's I don't know. Yikes! That's a scary thought.
I told you guys I was gonna have like a strong opening there, and I thought we'd run with it, and then I put it out there, and y'all just look at me with these blank faces like, oh my god, I can't.
I'd like to put it out there that this is a man who has to eat breakfast from Starbucks. He can't even make himself a goddamn meal.
Hey, their blueberry muffins are real good.
Because he's hungover from his 2 drinks.
3.
3 drinks.
Oof. How does it feel, like watching all your friends have like multiple drinks and have no issues, and then you're like, I can't do it.
I don't know if I would say no
I'm
issues.
falling
actually.
apart.
Well, I go home.
Nick kind of.
I count all the money that I saved, and I'm happy. So.
Yeah, but like, are you really happy deep down with yourself?
Oh no.
Okay,
No,
I was about to
not
ask.
at all. And that's today's topic. We're going to talk through my emotional pain. No, before we get into things, we're recording on the day of the Super Bowl, all right? I went to the halftime show page to see who was playing. It turns out it is Jennifer Lopez and Shakira.
I totally thought you were gonna say Lawrence. I don't know why.
Yeah, she's just going to go out there, shoot some like bows and arrows like Katniss. But there's criticism this year. The NFL has been criticized by Dee Snider of Twisted Sister for neglecting heavy metal and hard rock music. They felt that necessary to put on the Wikipedia page.
Well.
I mean, I guess that's kind of fair.
I like heavy metal. I like
Super
hard
high.
rock. I am not upset at all about how they do it. It's the Super Bowl. You know, they had the whole
Do what's ever popular.
yeah.
Honestly.
I mean, they had the whole thing with who had the wardrobe malfunction? Who was that?
Janet Jackson.
Janet Jackson. They
Janet
had that
Jackson.
happen. They're like, we need to get the oldest, crustiest dudes from the 60s that we can. They had the Stones. They had Paul McCartney. They had Tom Petty. They had The Who, Springsteen. And then after a while, they're like, why don't we just go back to pop? We can go back to pop.
Yeah, I was gonna say they've had
Yeah.
a lot of like those guys for a while, so I don't know.
I mean, it's been a while since they had any of them, so it'd be nice to see them bring some people back. I've always wanted the Foo Fighters. The Foo Fighters could put on a hell of a show.
I feel like with hard rock, a lot of the time, these people are so old. I'm just waiting for them to die on stage.
If any of you saw Aerosmith at the Grammys, it was really bad. It was really bad. They don't have it anymore.
I only heard about it, didn't see it.
They don't see it. Oh, man. The other thing I want to mention before we end the thing is a new segment that everybody is on board with, that they are completely happy with, that I am doing.
The other members of the Pause Button podcast do not associate with this segment.
May I present the My Chemical Countdown segment of the podcast? They
No.
are reuniting. It's going to be great. They're coming to Chicago.
It's probably gonna be
That's
okay.
where we're based, in Chicago. They're playing at Riot Fest. I got my 3-day pass. I think they're going to be on Saturday. They are 213 days away from Chicago.
To our listeners, you should know we actually did ask Brian not to do this, but he just said, I'm going to do it anyway, and then did it.
We're doing it live, man.
It's gonna be a shit display. Honestly, that
Oh, don't you dare, man.
they're not gonna put on a good show.
It's
man.
gonna be great. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna cry, and I'm gonna go there in my with the Black Parade marching band outfit, and I'm gonna sweat my ass. No, I don't have one of those. But it's gonna be a great show. It's gonna be a great show.
And I feel like I'll try to support this since I mean, we don't really support it, but I'll just go along with it because he's gonna keep doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Apparently, we found out Ron Jeremy and Gerard Way are like good friends or something. It seems like
two
they've
pictures
been
together doesn't mean they're good friends.
They've been pictured together quite a few times.
I mean,
I feel
that's.
I mean, 2 is already too many.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. All right. So welcome to the Pause Button Podcast. I'm glad you all enjoyed that. Every other week, your 4 favorite hosts, sometimes 3, sometimes we'll throw Tom in there, will discuss a pop culture topic, usually related to movies, music, shows, or video games, and we'll do our darndest to entertain you along the way. You can expect surprising facts, funny
jokes,
deeply depressing monologues, and of course, unrelated witty banter. So sit down, shut up, and open your ears. It's time to hit pause.
Why do you feel the need to like segregate me out of the title of host?
Do you want to become like the
I feel like I am.
All right, fine. We got 5 hosts then. We'll put you in there. We'll put you as in the 5th host. Everybody, round of applause for Tom. He did it.
Doing better than Jim.
Hey.
Jim's flight got delayed in Budapest. All right, they thought he was supposed to go to Bucharest. Turns out he was supposed to go to Budapest.
Don't do this.
He's gonna
Don't
come
do
here,
this.
man.
Please,
He's on his way.
Stop.
So I just want to prepare you guys.
My
for
house
this.
in Budapest.
Good song. It's a good song.
Yeah.
At what point during the episode do we actually introduce ourselves? I never remember.
Oh yeah. Why don't we do that now?
We don't introduce ourselves. It just fucking happens.
Over there we got Tom, the tech guy, who is now a full-fledged host of this podcast. Do we want to do another round of applause for him, or
No.
No?
That's
Okay.
He doesn't deserve more than one. He didn't deserve the one, but
I agree with that. I didn't deserve an applause. I just
over here with the criticism we have
I'm the sunshine tot.
best one yet.
Pat.
Best one yet.
And I'm Joe. Puts the different in a different cadage.
There we go. He remembered it this time.
I mean, I always remembered it. I just don't like it. I'm gonna come up with something new.
And also, I'm Brian, and I also don't like my title of Mr. Pause Button. So maybe I'll put out like a Twitter poll of like, what should my nickname be?
And maybe we could also put out a poll of, do you enjoy us forcing things like we constantly do, like this?
Maybe that's why.
Let's just force it and make them like it.
Yes, everyone's going to enjoy the My Chemical Countdown. All right.
just like the lists, all the lists, right?
So speaking of long lists, I've got 10 pages of notes. So you guys ready to go on the topic today?
You seriously have 10 pages?
10 pages of notes.
All right, I guess that makes up for all of us having none, so...
I put the team on my back, you know?
I mean, I was trying to segue by singing Budapest.
Oh, well, I'll do it. I'll
Actually,
put the
we had
team
a lot
on
of
my
good
back.
room for segues earlier with the whole rock thing. But...
Yeah, So today we're going to be talking about dead or dying genres and our opinions on them. Are they really dying? Are they really dead? Which ones are dead? You guys ready to jump in?
Absolutely.
All right.
I'm gonna stay seated, but I'll be here.
I'm going to jump up, okay? I'm going to do some jumping jacks. As we get into disco is our first one. So each time I got some notes here, I put it into little categories of like, the kind of main acts, what the style was, and then the history of like how it was born, how it reached its height, and then how it kind of died away. So what do you guys would say is the main acts of disco? Who are like the big heavy hitters?
The Bee Gees, for sure.
That's the first one I got, yeah. Village People, of course. You got to include YMCA.
Donna Summers.
Macho Man. Donna Summers, yeah. You can include early Michael Jackson, I feel.
Probably.
Yeah, off
Maybe
the wall.
the Jackson 5.
Some of the Jackson
a bit
5.
more.
What's that song off the wall?
Fuck
Don't
if
stop
I
till you get
know.
enough.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, don't stop till you get enough. That song it's pretty disco-y.
I guess so.
So yeah, that's about it. As far as the style goes, you got the light up floors, the disco balls, sex and cocaine. Pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I summed it up pretty well in those 4 things.
Disco's a little bit more raunchy than you think.
Oh yeah. The 70s, man, they were crazy. So obviously it was born in the 70s. The hippies were dying out, and big surprise, disco came over from Europe, if you'd believe it. Was he?
Really?
Yeah. And
Are the Bee Gees British?
let's find
They
out.
probably are.
To the internet.
This is the part where Brian Googles something instead of continuing talking.
Does that count as a
and
segment?
Come up with something.
Whoa, they were formed in 58.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
disco's
crazy.
old.
That's nuts.
Not really.
I feel like disco was primarily 60s and like 70s, so it doesn't surprise me at all that they'd form in the late 50s.
All
Yeah.
right. Well,
So we should talk about something while Brian Googles, so we don't just sit here quietly.
He has 10 pages of notes, and he doesn't have this.
all right. No, it is. Okay, so they're from the Isle of Man, from the British Isles. So
Oh, cool.
Wonderful.
we can now continue with
Absolutely
our topic with this
wonderful.
wonderful knowledge. So, you can kind of
Don't stop till you get enough.
Yeah, come on. Oh, okay. So,
I'm
if,
gonna edit the shit out.
oh, come on, man! You want me to bring the kazoo out again? So, at the height, you got like the mid '70s, like Rock the Boat and Kung Fu Fighting, and that's the way I like it. And
Is Kung Fu Fighting considered disco? Is that disco?
I don't know.
I would, maybe. I don't know. I could see
guess.
it going either way. I guess.
I guess I could see it. I guess I really don't know exactly like the clear definition of disco. Really, like it's hard for me to place in my mind.
So I would say you have some strings in there. You have, like violins and bows and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You would have funky bass lines.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of like hi-hat stuff going on in the drums, high-pitched vocals,
Okay.
funky guitar riffs.
Yeah.
You can also include, like Shake, 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 Shake Your Booty, and Evil Woman from ELO, and of course Saturday Night Fever.
Evil Woman, really?
Yeah,
Shake, shake, shake.
I
Really?
could see that.
Yeah.
that one I
that's
could see.
pretty disco-y.
Yeah, that's
see
definitely
some people
disco.
doing coke to that.
And oh yeah, man. Oh yeah, that song just makes me want to just snort right up, right? I feel like we have to give a shout out to ABBA, of course. We have to mention ABBA here. As
love ABBA.
Pat here is, or the Sunshine Lad over here,
mhm.
big ABBA fan.
Absolutely.
Favorite ABBA song, Pat?
Dancing Queen. I'll say
Nice.
Dancing Queen pretty
Nice,
easily.
nice.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
And then you got Funky Town that came out in 1979. Everybody loves Funky Town.
Yeah.
Is there anybody who doesn't enjoy at least that melody? It's so catchy.
I will say, like, I listened to it once, but if I listened to it more than once in probably like a month, I probably wouldn't be that happy with it.
Yeah, it's a long. Isn't it like 7 minutes?
I don't know.
Quick question:
Yeah.
Is that song that features Bruno Mars, "Uptown Funk"? Could we consider that?
We're gonna get into that later. We're gonna definitely get into that later. But speaking of other things that you wouldn't expect, I didn't even think about this, but rock got pretty into it with the disco sound. You can include Another One Bites the Dust in there, Eminence Front from The Who, I Was Made for Loving You by Kiss. They're all pretty got like that influence of the disco.
I guess I could see that.
They're not full blown disco, but
Yeah, yeah.
there's like
I mean,
Eminence
with
Front
the
by The
bass
Who.
line and
like-
Another One Bites the Dust, I guess I could like get what you're trying to say. Don't you dare fucking cough on this podcast! I swear to God.
You're gonna lose your fucking lungs if you do it again.
I have coronavirus. Topical. And then the decline. The people who started to do disco stuff were seen as selling out in the rock world. Punk, of course, as you would guess, not a big fan of the disco side of things. And then I feel like out of all the things we're going to talk about, disco had the biggest event of like, this is the day disco died. July 12th of 1979. Right here in Chicago, we had the disco demolition. And just to be there, man. Can you imagine?
What exactly happened?
What exactly happened? So, at Comiskey Park in Chicago,
Oh, nice.
two radio DJs, Steve Dahl and Gary Meyer, at a Sox game, decided to have people bring in their disco records that they were going to explode on center field in between a doubleheader. Perfect plan. No way that was going to go bad. Crowds stormed the field. There were fires all over the place. The turf was damaged.
Holy shit.
And disco died. Disco really died. They crucified it right on the field.
That's so awesome. That's so cool.
You didn't know about this?
No, I had no
I
idea.
thought you were just asking for
Yeah,
the viewers.
it's a famous moment.
Wow, I had no idea. That's awesome.
Yeah. And as evidence, in July of 1979, right when it was going on, the top 6 songs in the country were disco. By September, none of them were disco. The top 10. And there was one that had like some touches of it, kind of, but mostly it was just gone. You can also include, as we get into the 80s and all that, it was seen as like hedonistic, all about pleasure and drugs and sex, and the rise of like Reagan and like the religious right of like that stuff is bad. You should stay away from drugs and sex, and kind of brought it down. And also there was I was surprised by this, but there was a little bit of like almost racism to it. It was seen as not masculine enough or not white enough because it had like its roots from like soul and like gay subculture too, with like the village people and everything.
Oh.
That's true.
So there was a reaction against it like that, and I had no idea.
No, me neither.
Bring disco back.
Yeah.
Bring disco back. That's what this is, a cry to bring it back, man. I want my funky beats. Ready for the next one?
I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, so we got rockabilly here, which I am a little stupid. I did not realize
I
that is
also agree you're stupid.
well. I didn't say why yet.
I wouldn't say a little.
How? All right, you guys were right. We're just gonna deep dive into me today. So, it's a combination of rock and hillbilly to be rockabilly.
That's not a lot to go on. What the fuck does this mean?
That's how you got the title, hillbilly and rock together. I had no idea.
Yeah, man.
But, like, what does that mean?
So let's get into it.
Okay.
Let's get in. Who are the big acts of rockabilly? Who would you say? The heyday of rockabilly.
Wanda Jackson. Gene Vincent.
No, are you just on the Wikipedia page?
I just looked it up on Google.
Okay.
Matchbox?
Matchbox 20.
What?
What? Where's you?
We're just throwing out Macklemore? We're just
that's
throwing
the
out random
song.
artists now?
Oh, shit. I misread that. Never mind. Carl Perkins.
Thank you, Carl Perkins. Yes. Anybody else?
I don't know. Is Kid Rock rockabilly?
No. Oh my God. Okay, so we
Does
got
Elvis count as rockabilly?
yes, Elvis,
Okay.
Jerry Lee Lewis, a little bit of Johnny Cash, Buddy
'Cause-
Holly.
They had a song listed over here by him, but I was like, I don't know.
Just think of rock and roll, the '50s rock and roll.
Okay.
So the style is cars and girls and smoking.
I wasn't alive back then. I don't know.
Okay, well, come on, like the jeans and the leather jacket, the
I don't know
greasers
about things
kind of
that
look.
existed before me.
Well, all these genres.
In fact, I don't believe they existed.
Pat believes the universe started in 1993. The rest is all fake.
Prove us wrong.
You know?
So it's all about rebelling and sex and screw you, dad, and that kind of thing. So it was born from like blues and country and swing and honky tonk all together. We got
Bunch of
Carl
honkies.
Perkins, huh?
What?
Oh.
What'd you say?
Nothing. Let's go ahead. Let's keep going. I'm so sorry.
I feel like a teacher right now. So Memphis was the kind of central hub for this, is where all these artists are coming from. If you know the song "Train Kept a Rollin'" that Aerosmith covered, that's from this time. I was interested to find this out. I don't know much about Elvis, but he was denied when he first came out with his first song, "That's All Right, Mama," for being too white and too black.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems with Elvis in his style. I know he got criticized a ton, and especially a ton for stealing from black artists.
Oh yeah, I mean he put those styles together, and everybody was quote unquote okay with it back then, because it's he's white, so it's okay.
Yeah.
So you got the issue with that. But you could see how if you're a really racist white person, and then he comes along, you're like, this music's just too black for me, and it's really racist like that. And on the opposite end, if you're with a black artist and you're like, he's just taking our stuff, and it could be an issue there.
Yeah. I guess.
So he's a big figure of it all. At the height of it, in the same year, 1956, Folsom Prison Blues came out, Blue Suede Shoes, and Heartbreak Hotel.
Yeah.
Good year.
I mean, those are
It's a good year.
songs. Sure. Yeah.
You know some of those songs, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I do.
Yeah.
Okay. And then in 1957, we got Great Balls of Fire. Everybody knows that one, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
From
Okay,
Top
yes,
Gun.
that
Yeah.
one
But then a year later, everything started to go. In 1958, Elvis joined the Army. In 1959, Buddy Holly died in an airplane crash. And then you get into the 60s, and the Beatles come along, and suddenly rockabilly's dead.
I didn't know Buddy Holly died in an airplane crash.
Yeah, some tragic airplane crash, and that was it for him.
Hmm.
Until the Beatles wrote that song, or not the Beatles, Weezer wrote that song about
Would you
him.
consider any of this early Beatles stuff rockabilly?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they were really influenced by Carl Perkins and all that. They covered a lot of his songs, Dizzy Miss Lizzy, and what else do they
Oh.
have there?
Okay.
Yeah,
I wonder if Betty White was alive to see all that.
yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
she was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
she's older than sliced bread, man. I'm telling you. When I predict she's gonna die this year, it's gonna happen.
literally, she's older than sliced bread.
Okay. Yeah.
So moving right along from that, that's a good way to end that. Anything else we want to add in about rockabilly? All right, so we're gonna talk about grunge next a little bit. This one, Pat, you were alive for, so it existed.
Yeah, I believe in that one.
Yeah, so this one's really easy. You're the main acts of grunge.
Does it rhyme with Furfana?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay.
Nirvana was a band.
Pearl Jam.
Oh, yeah, Pearl Jam. Yeah.
Nirvana.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah. I when you said
Pearl
Nirvana,
Jam and Nirvana?
When you said Nirvana, I was about to dive over this table and just fucking beat the shit.
Shoot, I
out
love
of you.
Nirvana. I got my list here in order, I think, in terms of how great they are. I think it's Nirvana, Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, and Stone Temple Pilots.
I mean, Stone Temple Pilots should be higher, but
No.
I also
Yeah.
think Pearl Jam should be higher.
Higher than Soundgarden? Come on.
Yeah.
Get
I
out
think
of here.
so.
Pearl Jam's awful, so.
Oh.
They're coming back this year, man. They're probably gonna be at Lala, and I'm not excited at all.
Yeah, I'm okay with them. I'm not like a huge fan. There's a couple songs I like.
So, what would you say the style of grunge is? You know, what they got in there is a style.
Anger.
Yeah.
It's like less loud punk.
Yeah, I mean, it's got the punk influence in there.
That's actually surprisingly apt. I feel like
Well,
that's a pretty damn.
It's kind of slowed down punk. Like
It's kind of like messy but calculated.
Yeah, they wanted to be as messy as possible. It was anti-consumer, anti-social, kind of like the flannel and
Very white still.
yeah.
Another very white genre.
Yeah.
They obviously based in Seattle. With themes of like loneliness and heroin.
Yeah.
Seattle clouds, rain.
So I was really interested in this about the intro of it, like how it came about. In like the mid '80s, there were bands that were starting to mix like punk and metal together, called like the Human, the Farts with a Z.
Oh, nice.
The Melvins. Like I have never heard of any of these bands. Like they're so like I have yet to listen to them, but I really want to kind of look into that. And then you kind of have the other alternative bands that kind of pushed into grunge, like Sonic Youth and Dinosaur Jr., the Butthole Surfers, the Pixies.
I'm sorry. Well, the butthole what?
Butthole Surfers, man.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Anybody here play Guitar Hero 2? They were in there?
No.
Oh. I want to be friends with you guys. And Green River was seen as the first grunge band, whose first album came out in 1985, earlier than I thought.
Yeah, that is a little bit earlier.
And then you got the first album for all the big players. In 1988, Soundgarden put out the first album. 1989, Nirvana had Bleach. That's a good one. Got About a Girl on there. Yeah. Alice in Chains came out in 1990, and then in 91, Pearl Jam and Temple of the Dog came out with their first album.
In 1990, you said?
1991.
Oh.
With 10, with Pearl Jam. And so, what's his face from Pearl Jam? I forgot
Eddie
his name.
Vedder.
Eddie Vedder. Yeah, he's in Temple of the Dog and Pearl Jam. So he put out 2 really good albums in the same year.
Nice.
Crazy.
Really
Even if you don't like him, you
song.
gotta respect it,
Yeah.
During that time, Rolling Stone referred to Seattle as the new Liverpool. Right?
They're both rainy.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know though,
and
because like
cloudy.
Liverpool, you can like talk about. It's just I don't think it's on the same par. I guess because in terms of like influence and height, I feel like grunge was a quick beast of like here we are and we're gone.
Maybe. I don't know. It's hard for me to judge kind of because I was too young, like I haven't like researched it a ton, but I don't know how much of an impact like bands like Nirvana actually had. I feel like they're much more niche than obviously than the Beatles were, I think.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, so you mentioned that Nirvana. Well, they put out Nevermind, the big one with Smells Like Teen Spirit and all that, and then the media was like, "Oh, there's money to be made with grunge," and that's when it all went downhill. It just boom.
But those flannel sales went up, up, up.
So I got here from marketers use grunge concept to sell things like grunge air freshener, grunge hair gel, and even CDs listed as grunge light.
What's a grunge air freshener?
I don't
like
know.
a wet fucking dog? Like what? I don't
Used
know.
up heroin and
Definitely cigarettes.
oh yeah. But I mean, and then in 1994, Kurt Cobain killed himself, and Screaming Trees and Soundgarden put out their final albums in '96, and it just all kind of went from there.
So it really died with him, basically?
Pretty much.
Okay.
I was really surprised to find out bands like Candlebox, Bush, and Stone Temple Pilots, who came out after the beginning ones from Seattle, they were seen as like fakers, and they were hated because they weren't from the original scene. It's like they were just influenced, trying to continue the thing,
It's weird to think of like that concept of ours. Like they were going in creating essentially kickstarting their own musical genre and then going, but like it's ours though. And I assume maybe it wasn't the bands, maybe it was the fan base. Maybe they wanted to be specifically into those bands. You know how fan bases can be for stuff where they're super exclusive.
There was definitely an era of we didn't mean to get famous from some of those acts. Kurt Cobain did not write any of those records to sell them. Like, he just had music inside him that he wanted to put out there, and then it got way too big, and he didn't know how to handle it, I think.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, so, you guys ready for the next one, which is a real fun one?
Sure.
Nu metal. Who are some nu metal artists?
Oh.
By the way, that's NU, not NEW. NU.
I knew the existence of nu metal. That's about where my knowledge of nu metal ends.
I want you to imagine that it's like 2004, and you're in a trailer park. Who's blasting on some like random guy's stereo?
Lamb of God.
Corn.
No, Corn. Yeah, Lamb of God's a little bit more like
That's heavy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Slipknot.
Slipknot. Yep.
Disturbed.
Disturbed.
Oh wait, no. Insane Clown Posse.
Yeah, you could include them, I'd say.
Wait, who did that song, Chop Suey? The fuck?
You could include System of a Down.
There we go. System of a Down.
They have a little bit more, sometimes alternative sound, but they do dip into new metal.
Limp Bizkit.
Limp Bizkit, yeah. Early Linkin Park, you know, you got to think of like the heyday.
You can hear the sound of people in this podcast Googling as they suddenly become way more confident in their answers.
If you just think of heyday of Hot Topic, baggy clothes, spiky hair, wall chains, the frosted tips, like that's new metal.
POD.
Yeah, POD, all that stuff. Stained. So you know, in the mid '90s, you got industrial metal from like Nine Inch Nails and White Zombie and Tool and all that. And then as we get to near the end of the '90s, you get Korn and the Deftones and Limp Bizkit. And Ozfest actually was really a big player. I didn't realize in kind of bringing these bands up. You know, obviously Ozzy would end the show, but at the beginning you go and see some bands and you're like, oh, this is a new sound. This is something different.
Yeah.
And we can't not mention like the hit of the day back then with Bodies by Drowning Pool.
Oh.
If you want to talk about a song that just encapsulates a genre and just pushes it into like the mainstream, come on.
Yeah.
Bodies. That's the.
Let the bodies hit the floor.
Yeah, I'm just making.
Yeah.
Let the body.
Nothing wrong with me. Yeah, that's them. And then Linkin Park, their first two albums, just like dominating that sound, just owning it and really being the height of it, I would say.
See, I don't know, because I haven't listened to a lot of these other bands, I guess,
Oh,
in
yeah.
a big way, but, like,
You're not
Linkin
missing
Park
much.
just seems... I could guess that. There's a reason I haven't dove into it.
Dude, Click
But-
Click Boom by Saliva.
Oh God.
Yeah,
But,
just think
like,
of UFC and you're there.
Linkin Park just seems like a more accessible version to it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, because I was into that when I was young. Like, Linkin Park was the first CD I ever bought.
Nice.
Meteora. So I don't know, like, it just seems much more accessible than a lot of the other bands.
Yeah, absolutely. But I was really surprised by how it declined. As time went on, people that were playing like hard rock and rock kind of took over. Like The Darkness, I believe in a thing called Love and Jet and all that.
Yeah. I
And
don't know if I would say the Darkness took over, but they had a
Well,
hit.
that was like the next. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair. But I like to just think of it as everyone realized how ridiculous it all was, and they're like, okay, we've had enough of this. You can go back to bed now. Speaking of ridiculousness, hair metal, glam metal, 80s, in
Yeah.
your face.
I really like hair metal, to be honest. That's kind of like a guilty pleasure for me. Like Def
Big
Leppard.
Thin Lizzy fan.
No,
I don't
no.
know if you could count Thin
I
Lizzy.
know, I'm joking.
I actually really like Def Leppard. I know that's a very
Okay,
unpopular
who's the
opinion.
best? Who's the best hair metal artist? Because there's an objective answer.
Well, do you count Guns N' Roses? Because it's listed on here when I looked it up.
I
but,
think
like,
you can. They came along near the end there. I think '87 was when they put out Appetite for
Well,
Destruction.
so are we saying best or are we saying biggest?
The answer is the same.
I would probably go Guns N' Roses.
You're
then.
wrong.
Okay. Well, Motley Crue.
Come on, they're good, but no. Van Halen.
So,
Oh.
you know what's
Ah,
really
shit,
sad
yeah, no, that
is
is-
when I said Thin Lizzy, I was thinking of Twisted Sister.
Oh.
You know,
So I was like, wait, why are they looking at me that? Like, when I was like, oh wait, it's not Thin Lizzy. Thin Lizzy did Jailbreak. They're not even close.
Was Thin Lizzy the Boys Are Back in Town?
yeah, they were
Yeah.
a little bit earlier. But you know, you've got Def Leppard, you got Motley Crue, Twisted Sister, Poison. Every rose has its thorn, man.
Poison.
Ugh.
Bret Michaels. Rock of what was it?
Rock of Love.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the style here is over the top.
Cherry Pie.
I have such varying opinions on hair metal because I'm really into stuff like Motley Crue was really great.
Oh, yeah.
And I like a lot of Guns N' Roses, but that I really cannot stand Poison or Bon Jovi
Oh,
and like
Mhm.
I hate Bon
Ah.
Jovi.
Dude,
God,
you got the.
Def Leppard.
What about Quiet Riot? Bang your head?
What?
Bang your head? Really? Or
What?
mental health? Come on.
Maybe
Nope.
if I heard it.
All right. Yeah,
But
maybe if you heard
I'm
it.
still kind of surprised that you said Van Halen over Guns N' Roses.
Oh,
I feel
come
like
on.
Guns N' Roses has like lasted a lot longer. Like Van Halen's all right, but I feel like they're also the reason that like
Yeah,
Luke
but Van
died.
Halen's just a better band.
Yeah. Hey, look, Guns N' Roses put out one
Mm.
album that was good. I feel like after Appetite for Destruction, they had some hits like November Rain, but overall, everybody just remembers Paradise City and Welcome to the Jungle. And one of them has, what's his face? Who's the lead singer again?
Of what?
Guns N' Roses.
Axl Rose.
One of them has Axl Rose, and it's not Van Halen. All right, like,
Yeah.
that guy's the epitome of like stuck-up rock star.
Oh yeah, he sucks. But
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, that's not like.
Terrible human being.
So, going back, this genre was born out of the style of Kiss and Cheap Trick and kind of Van Halen, because they were like the front runners to it. You know, like their first album isn't full on like metal, like hair metal. It's more of that like Eruption and You Really Got Me kind of like rock sound.
I want to know what Pat's laughing at real
Yeah,
bad.
what do you?
I'm looking at a video of a guy trying to take a ball from his dog, but his dog keeps pointing his butt at him. It's really funny.
Can you imagine if you spent weeks preparing like 10 pages of notes, and then
But like, does yours have a cute dog aiming its
Nope.
butt at its owner?
no, I don't got
Or
that.
Benedict Cum?
Benedict come.
He's making a comeback, man. So I
Literally
call him
Hey.
Benedict
come
Cum.
back, yeah.
What, do you guys like Whitesnake?
No.
Can't
Here I
say
go
it.
again.
No.
Here I go again.
No.
That's a guilty pleasure, man. I love that song. And then we got to mention the Whiskey A Go Go, which was on the Sunset Strip in LA. That was like the main hub of it all. But then the Decline, you would never guess this, but having a bunch of egotistical people work together kind of leads to strained relationships.
Sort of like this podcast.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. There's just too much ego here.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of people left the groups, and then grunge came along as kind of like this counter, like, you know, this is all too much. We want, like, it stripped down and anti-consumer and not over the top. And Van Hagar happened too, so.
Actually, yeah, I mean, that's a really good point about hair metal. I feel like a lot of those bands totally, like, the people really didn't get along.
Well, yeah, it's surprising to look at it because there's so many one-hit wonders. Like, that. You have bands in the 70s that had many hits, and then this you get, like, you know, Whitesnake has basically one song. Night Ranger has, I think, Sister Christian, and then that's it. And granted, you have Guns N' Roses and Van Halen, like the heavy hitters, but then you also get Rat, I forget, Round and Round, I think is their song, and that's their one song. You get Europe, and they got Final Countdown, and that's their one song. There's a lot of one hits in there.
Yeah. I think music's become like that more general.
Oh, yeah, as we get into time.
Different topic.
I got one more genre for you. Speaking of one-hit wonders, this one breaks my heart to mention on this episode. Third wave ska.
Uh-huh.
What about the first two waves?
Yeah, what do you call it? Third wave?
Is it dying, or like is it because there's no new bands coming out?
So
or
we're gonna get
I
into
know
what-
there's still bands around.
We're going to get into what dying means in a little bit, but I guess you can kind of sum it as these genres had their peak and they've gone that way.
Should we have defined dying before we talked about all these bands and genres
Oh
who
no,
are dying?
we're going to define dying after it because that's logical.
Cool.
All right.
Did anybody else prepare the structure of this episode? Are we going to criticize anything else I've done?
All right.
I'm angry now. So the main acts we
At
have.
least he's not hungover anymore.
Yeah, no, the coffee's hitting, man. The coffee's hitting. So, you know, Real Big Fish, Sell Out, and all that stuff. You got Sublime and Streetlight Manifesto, Less Than Jake. I just want to name so many different bands, but I know that my lists tend to not be the most entertaining thing on
It
this
bothers
podcast.
me.
Dude, come on. So, at the height here, if you want to include Rancid's and Out Come the Wolves, they were more punk, but that came out in 1995. Sublime and No Doubt were kind of like the biggest people. Sublime's self-titled album went 5 times platinum, and Tragic Kingdom by No Doubt is the diamond record, so they sold a lot. I don't know if you guys know this, Smash Mouth's first record had ska on there.
I could believe that.
They do a cover of Why Can't We Be Friends with ska, and it's really good.
Yeah, I feel like that fits their music, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that not all of their music is considered ska. Really.
I mean, the first album especially. I mean, once you get to like All Star in the second one, it's kind of a little bit more of like, I don't even know, pop punk.
Just like 90s.
Just 90, yeah.
90s stuff.
As 90s as can be. So I got 3 movies to mention in terms of ska. You got Save Ferris and 10 Things I Hate About You, Real Big Fish and Basketball, and Less Than Jake in the Digimon movie.
I mean, you're saying that almost like condescendingly.
I thought you guys would shit on it because
No, I like that movie.
Oh, dude, all my best friends are
Digimon's great.
metalheads. And then we get to the end with Bradley from Sublime dying in 96. Mighty Mighty Boss Tones took a hiatus. Real Big Fish went through so many lineup changes you could hardly recognize it. Gwen Stefani went solo, and it all kind of died out.
But No Doubt's back.
Yeah, so we're going to get into that. Pat, we're going to move along. Before we get to the next thing, though, I do want to take a moment to add another segment because I like my segments. And
Oh,
Pat has
God.
a segment here. What's the title of your segment, Pat?
Didn't you say it earlier? It was the Sunshine Shout Out or
Yeah,
something?
the sunshine shout out here.
All right. So my shout out today is going to be shout out to Lizzo's new man from the Minnesota Vikings. Man, that's got to be a big relationship to deal with. A lot of pressure. Lizzo's a great performer. I mean, best of luck, man. I really hope she doesn't move on. You got to put a ring on that finger, get that bling.
Yeah.
She puts the singing single, man.
She does. If you're dating someone who puts this singing single, then it really makes you think that maybe that relationship's going to be a tough one. But I really hope it works out for you, new man on the Minnesota Vikings.
I heard some rumors, man. She's a bad bitch, non-committal.
The joke's over, actually.
Oh, okay. So speaking of things being over, quick guesses. What's gonna die next in terms of genres? My guess, mumble rap.
Hip hop.
In general?
Yes.
You mean like
No.
Drake and everything's just gonna tank?
No, that's a
No.
bold claim,
Yeah.
Tom.
I think it's gonna be that.
I
Wow.
don't think so. I kind of could see pop punk really going out. I mean, pop punk is kind of like, I think it's already got like one foot out the door, to be honest.
Do you-
Unless you're a person who's really into that, you really don't know about it.
Now, do you consider the comebacks of Blink, Panic, and Fall Out Boy as pop punk anymore, or are they too poppy?
I
be
feel like they're
considered
way
pop
too
punk?
poppy now. Like they don't really fall into that genre anymore. Or maybe you could say that the genre is changing, but I wouldn't.
Okay, I mean, you could definitely make an argument for Panic at the Disco being pop. That Pray
Well,
for the
and
Wicked.
Fall Out Boy, they just have such a produced sound.
Have
It's way
you-
different.
Did you listen to Mania?
I don't even know which one that is.
That's the newest one. It's
Probably
a little
not.
bit more towards the rock end kind of things. I know with Save Rock and Roll and American Psycho, they went pretty pop with it. With what was that one song about that actress?
Uma Thurman.
Uma Thurman and My Songs Know What You Did in the Dark and all that. They came
Yeah.
back pretty poppy.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say Mania isn't a complete return to what they used to sound like, but it does have a little bit more of guitar and pop, punk sound.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's a fair guess. I mean, that's other than the heavy hitters who are just coming back, there's not many like people bringing that genre back, new bands.
Yeah.
I just feel like I have to explain my
Yeah.
my dying genre. When I say hip hop, I mean like songs you can actually understand, not fucking like rap that's just like so fast that you can't keep up with it.
You're really lucky Devontae's not on this episode.
Yeah, I know he'd be ripping me a new asshole.
I don't know, man. After I've been listening to like hip hop and all that, there's a
So,
whole.
like, he said he thinks mumble rap is on the way. Did
Yeah,
you say
mumble
that?
rap, yeah.
So then, are you saying that you think mumble rap is
it's gonna
becoming more
succeed, yeah.
popular? Yeah. Okay.
I think it's just a fad. I think it's rising up, but overall, like I feel like hip hop in like without that mumble rap will continue on.
I kind of agree with you on that.
Like if you
can
want to
say?
view like how rock was going and then hair metal happened, like hair metal did not continue as much.
Yeah.
But so that kind of leads into the next thing. Rock. Joey made a bold claim a couple episodes ago that rock is dead or dying. Which one did you want to agree? Dying?
Dying.
All right, he said it's dying.
It's on life support.
In 1969,
I don't know.
The Doors recorded a song and called it Rock is Dead. It came out in 97 on a box set, but they claimed Rock is Dead in 69. In 2017, what are you doing? What are you doing? Now you're distracting other people?
Sorry.
Do you want to say afterwards, huh?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to call your parents.
He's like,
Okay.
yeah. Well, this is my house, though.
What do you got? You want to interrupt me?
No.
No, you want to share with the class?
No, we can keep
wanna read the
going, sir.
Okay. In 2017, Patrick, hip hop and R&B for the first time overtook rock as the most consumed genre. That was a Nielsen study. In terms of album sales, streams, downloads, all that. Hip hop and R&B took over rock.
What does a Nielsen study mean?
I don't know.
All right.
A study by like a company or like a statistics place, like that's objectively seen as hip hop and R&B went above rock in terms of sales. People are saying rock sucks. It started with like Nickelback, and then you got Imagine Dragons and stuff.
Ooh, Wolf. Imagine Dragons. You think they fall into that?
People remember when people were saying they're the new worst band?
I mean, they're the new worst band. I just don't know if I call them a rock band.
That's exactly my point. People are saying that they don't even count as rock, and do they or don't they?
I would say no.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they do.
I lean more towards like alternative for them. Like, yeah.
I mean, even more pop.
Yeah, pop even, yeah.
Honestly, more pop.
All right. So
Alternative pop rock.
All pop.
alt.
Blah, blah.
Radioactive.
popper.
Poplative.
All pop rock.
You know, I woke up today
Mr.
ready for this
Popper's
argument.
Penguins.
I didn't expect it to just derail this bad.
Popper's
So
Penguins.
Joey,
That's literally the point of a podcast.
I mean maybe. Joey, you're the face of this argument if rock is dying. I want you to present your argument. What have you got? Present your case to the court.
I just feel like rap and hip hop have taken much more of a front seat, and although I feel like, I mean, there's certain bands who I would consider still like performing rock, like I would say the Struts. I don't know who else. I can't think off the top of my head. But like, even though there are those bands, I would not say that they're very popular. And even though the Struts have had like a couple hits, if I want to use them as an example, I don't know that they're really going to become much more popular than they are, personally.
Okay.
Like, I don't know if they fall into the category of playing like stadiums like old rock bands did. You know what I mean?
So you're counting dying as no longer selling as many concert tickets and albums.
Kind of, yeah. Like, I mean, because you don't really buy a lot of, like, when we talked about these other things, like rockabilly, disco, like, those things, I mean, they don't really get made anymore, even, but it has to start with dying sales, because if the public's not into it, right, then why are people going to keep making it?
All right, that's a fair point. My argument is that music is not a contest, and that like we are in not only is rock doing well, I think rock is doing the best it ever has.
Please elaborate.
All right. So I'm going to start my argument off to quote a great movie trailer. No one's ever really gone. Okay. So, but going back to those genres that we said were dead.
I can't believe you just.
Yeah, I did. So going back to disco. Disco's dead, right? It's gone.
Yeah, for the most part.
You remember One More Time by Daft Punk?
Would you consider that disco?
Yeah, absolutely. What about Get Lucky by Daft Punk? That music video had a disco ball in it.
Okay, well, I could see Get Lucky, but I don't know about One More Time. One More Time feels more like electronic stuff.
I mean,
like it's starting to fall into that. And like there's
if it's slightly
sampling or different
changed, is it
things.
no longer disco anymore? If it's disco influenced?
Well, I think so, because I feel like one of the arguments that you're going to go along with is like indie rock and different stuff. Like, I feel like you're going to bring that up at some point, but that's a genre like changing. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know, 'cause you
things
can-
change. So rockabilly's dead, right?
Yeah.
Did you know that Drake Bell that you're thinking of, put out an album in 2014 produced by Brian Setzer that was rockabilly?
Okay, you can put it out, but if it doesn't do well, like if other people aren't catching on to that trend, if other artists aren't making it and it's not becoming popular, then I wouldn't say that genre is thriving.
I didn't realize he was still relevant. The last I heard about him, he was just arguing with Josh Peck about not being invited to a wedding. Like, that's the last thing I heard about this guy.
Nah, he does YouTube videos with Josh now. They reconciled.
Oh, good for them.
Yeah.
He guests on Josh's YouTube channel because Josh is apparently like he went full YouTuber.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's also a great band called JD McPherson that has that 50s sound. In terms of grunge is, you know, like in the 2000s, Pearl Jam came back strong and Alice in Chains reunited. Soundgarden came back for a little bit until Chris Cornell unfortunately died. Queens of the Stone Age is a pretty grungy sound. You've got the supergroup Them Crooked Vultures, which were pretty grungy. In terms of new metal, I mean, Linkin Park came back to the sound when they put out The Hunting Party. Remember when Korn teamed up with Skrillex? That was a thing.
No.
Slipknot kind of brought back their sound, like, and there's bands that sound like those previous bands. Danger Kids is a group that sounds kind of similar to early Linkin Park. In terms of hair metal, this one, I mean, you mentioned the Struts, the Darkness, Steel Panther is straight out of the 80s. Chinese Democracy came out from Guns N' Roses. They actually put it out.
You can count the Darkness.
I Believe in a Thing Called Love is an 80s song that came out in the 2000s.
But it's one song.
So? How many songs? Give me an objective number of how many songs that need to be popular for it to be
How long is an
alive.
album?
I don't know, like 10 to 15 songs.
There you go.
I mean, it's for ska, like all those bands continued. Gwen Stefani and No Doubt put out an album in 2012. There's newer bands like Slightly Stupid that came out. Less Than Jake played a stadium in Japan a couple years ago because their EP did so well. There's newer bands that like Stacked Like Pancakes and We Are the Union putting out new ska sounds.
I just feel like there's always going to be bands who get back together and do stuff that they're gonna do, but that doesn't mean like their time isn't really over. Like, I don't.
Okay.
It's just not as popular. It's not.
But is that what was rock was that what rock was about?
I mean, it's not like they're purposely trying to be popular, but that was the sound of the time. Like, that was what was on the radio. Like, if you go to the radio now, do you hear rock? I don't really, unless you go to oldies stations.
I think you do. It's changed, but there's still rock on there.
Because once it's changed, though, as much as it has changed, I kind of feel like that's a different genre. I feel like that's the birth of a new genre. I don't
mean,
feel
it's
like
still
that's
rock
as we know it anymore.
I mean, you could talk about punk pop, like punk pop being a version of rock, and like that continued. There's so many different like offshoots of it, and that's why I think it's thriving. Is that there's so many different offshoots, and you can enjoy it in so many different ways. And there's still people who sound originally like the original rock, like the Raconteurs put out an album that sounds straight out of the '70s. Help a Stranger.
But like, I don't hear about them at all. That's the point we're making.
But it's out there if you look. Like,
but I guess what
so
I'm saying
I feel like what comes here is that there's a big difference in how you two define dying or dead.
Yeah. Like, okay, so the highest selling album of all time until 1963 were musicals, like Oklahoma, South Pacific, My Fair Lady, stuff like that. And then, obviously, I was surprised Carole King had it for a while, then the Bee Gees, and now it's been Thriller ever since. But, like, are musicals dead? Because they're not as, like, high-selling as they used to be?
They're not dead, but, I mean, you don't really hear as... I mean, at least it's not my circle, so people don't, like, talk about it as much.
Dude, Hamilton?
I mean, yeah,
well,
that's
okay,
like...
I guess Hamilton.
You know,
in, like, the last decade, that's... And the Book of Mormon, because it was made by the creators of South Park. That's it.
There's more. You know what the greatest selling album of 2018 was? The soundtrack to The Greatest Showman.
Oh.
Okay.
That makes me upset.
So if we're talking about, like, I feel like rock is kind of like that, kid who was like top of the class, and then when he's no longer center of attention, gets all like pissy and whiny about it. Of like, oh, I'm not number one anymore. It's like, well, yeah, things change. Like, it's so like stuck in the past. Of like, it's the only genre that seems to like throw a fit about it. Like, there's not like the old people from ABBA and like Bee Gees like, why is disco dead? Like, complaining about it. Like, all these rock artists come out and they're all like, well, the genre's dead and it's not as good as it used to be. And it's like, don't be so stuck in the past. Like, there's so many new exciting things out there. And sure, you can't go to, like the United Center and see like, well, you can see the old acts, like Queen still playing there, and Aerosmith, when they come, usually does pretty big things, and Paul McCartney still sells out big places. But like, newer acts obviously aren't selling out these big venues, right? But I don't think you can. It doesn't matter that it's not selling it. If it's out there and there's more diversity to it, then I would say it's doing well.
I don't know. I don't feel like that's what exactly defined these things, but
and like, even like,
because I feel like what you're taking this as is me saying like, oh, well, I don't like rock, or like, you can't like rock because it's not what's like, I'm not saying that.
Oh,
like,
yeah, I know.
Obviously, there's always going to be things for everybody. Like, you can go find those things.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like, these are not what is most popular at the time.
You're
and
objectively
at those
right.
times that those things were out, those were the most popular. That was what everybody was listening to. And I think that rap and hip hop has taken over rock by large.
Yeah.
Like, little kids don't really sing like rock songs anymore. Like, they sing like rap songs.
I don't know. I feel like,
and I'm not saying it's dead, but I'm saying that it is diminished.
Yeah.
Like, it is dying.
I just feel like
That's a
anytime
sign
I
of
get
it.
mad whenever I hear people say that rock is dead, because it's so insulting to all the things that are out there.
But that's not what we said.
I know. I'm also arguing that against like rock is dead kind of argument. I know you're saying that it's dying or it's like lessening. And I can agree with that, but like, I feel like it's such an over dramatization of it, like in terms of like the films that came out. Like, past couple of years, we've had the Queen movie, we had the Bruce Springsteen movie, Elton John had a movie, and they're all blockbuster films. When people die from like classic rock, like Tom Petty and Lemmy, and Neil
those
Peart,
were
like,
reminiscing on those specific times.
yeah. But even nowadays, some of the highest selling tours of all time, U2 had the highest grossing tour ever in 2009 to 2011. Guns N' Roses had one of the highest selling tours in 2016 to 2019. Roger Waters' The Wall from 2010 to 2013 was up there, along with AC/DC's Black Ice tour and the Stones' most recent tour as well. They're all like part of the highest selling tours of all time. And granted, they're older acts, but like they're still doing really well.
You can attribute that to higher ticket sales because of how old these bands are.
Yeah.
And all that. So that's probably where most of that money's coming from. So they can sell it on nostalgia. Whereas this new music that's for this generation, rap and hip hop and all that, that is, sure, they don't tour as much, or no, I'm sorry, they don't sell as much on tickets, but they probably tour maybe twice or three times some of these bands do.
I think the situation with rock these days is the best that could have happened, because times change. And there's no way rock can continue being exactly as it was and still be as big. Like it gets stale with time and it changes, right?
Yeah, totally, I agree.
But you get so much variety from it, and that's what I think is so exciting. Like if you want people with that 70s sound, like they're still out there. Are they like, you know, it's selling out like 4 nights at the United Center like Led Zeppelin? No. But you get Greta Van Fleet, you get King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard that sound like straight from the 60s. Gary Clark Jr. is a phenomenal guitar player. Like there's so many different things out there, and to say that it's like dying, like I don't know, I feel like it's insulting to all the amazing things you can find.
But I feel like for the like large part, we talked about all these other genres and said that those were dead. But like, I mean, there are still like disco songs or like kind of like funk songs and different stuff like that.
Yeah,
come
there's
out, like
newer
Bruno
stuff.
Mars like kind of brings that into a pop light, like, you know.
So are you trying to say that no genre ever dies then,
Yeah,
Brian?
absolutely. No genre ever dies. It carries on with the fans, and there are people who like. We live in such an awesome age where if I want to go listen to like a recording from like 1932, I can go listen to it. And if I like love the swing band sound, I can come out with a new swing band, and like we could continue that. And like there's so many different options of what you can listen to. And
I think this is the moment where I break off from agreeing with Brian, because I agreed with him on a lot of stuff. Definitely don't agree on that take.
Really?
Huh.
Yep. That was it for me.
Is it anywhere near as popular as it used to be? No, but if you want to do any of those, if you want to make a band that sounds like they're from 1994 with grunge like Nirvana, you can.
But are you defining this as the music's available?
Yeah.
Or is it relevant? Because I think that's what we're...
Well, I mean, I guess, yeah. I guess I just don't care as much for the relevancy of it. Like, one of my like favorite musicians is Frank Turner. And he has like a very rock kind of folk rock kind of sound. Yeah. I can't go and listen to him at the United Center. That's never going to happen. But that doesn't matter to me. The fact that he's still out there, it's proof that there's still, if you're looking for it, it's there. And I think that's all that matters, especially today because it's so accessible. Back in the day, you could only get records at the store, and obviously the record labels would only sell what would sell because they needed the profits. Now you can put anything you want on Spotify and YouTube and SoundCloud and whatever you want out there, and it's available to anybody for free.
I think we just disagree on this relevancy versus accessibility.
Yeah, there's really no way around it. I mean, I understand what you're saying and stuff. I think it's just, the definition of relevancy and that playing into dead versus dying and still alive. That's, I think, where we differ.
I also feel like rock is going to have a comeback in the next couple of, I don't know how soon, but...
It could.
World War III.
Oh, jeez, what?
That's a jump. That's a jump.
It'll come back to argue against it.
Oh, boy.
This is all coming from the guy that thinks hip-hop is dead, so...
I don't know shit about music. I want to make this apparent.
I don't know. This was fun. I felt like this was our first time of really disagreeing. And
yeah, true. No, I
debate.
Actually kind of, I mean, I agree
lost
with
respect
that.
for you as a
Especially
person
maybe
through it, but...
first time disagreeing since the Star Wars episode. There was a lot of dissent in that episode.
But this was polite. Maybe it's because we don't have Nick on, you know?
Well, yeah, Nick is very stubborn.
So, any last little bits?
I don't think so.
Pretty much covered it.
All right. So, thank you for listening. Let us know what you think about rock or any of the other genres, if they're really dead, why I'm right, stuff like that. Share this thing with the social medias and all that. Our listening goals, if we get 50 listens, we're going to give the drunk episode. If we get 25 subscriptions on YouTube, all you got to do is click the button. And then we're going to raffle off a $25 gift card to any of those people. And if we get 5 stars, 25 times on Apple, if you're listening on the Apple Podcast app, we've got a mystery surprise. So who knows what that's going to be. I guess I do want to give a little hint for next episode. Next time we're going to be talking about, like Sonic, the movie. Do you guys have any guesses for how that's going to be?
Devontae's gonna hate me, but I feel like that movie's gonna be abysmal.
Yeah,
me
I'm gonna say
too.
about 4 out of
That's
10.
exactly what I was gonna say.
I hope not, but it's going to be like a 4 out of 10.
I like Sonic, but that movie's not gonna be good.
Dude, Jim Carrey, man. That
Jim
about wraps
Carrey.
it up.
Jim.
He said Jim.
Oh, he said Jim. I thought he said Drew. I'm sorry.
Drew Carey's in it. Can you imagine? All right, I would love to talk more and more about this, but we gotta
stigmata.
Oh God.
we gotta bring this to an end here. So, Tom, what's our next topic?
Our next topic is whether or not we should have
Brian.
have a drunk blackout day to fatten up his liver so he can drink more.
Start surviving off of more than 2 drinks.
Yeah,
It
basically.
saves me money. All right.
Nothing wrong
Yeah,
with it.
Yeah.
I said your name.
You
How do you
did.
like that?
Leave me be.
Hey, you didn't throw up, so hey.
Hey, I did not.
That's true.
All right. So we'll talk all about my alcohol consumption stuff next time. But until then.
Now we're gonna hit pause.